Hi, this is Citizen Voice at the Hub Culture Paris Pavilion with the founding director, Stan. Stan, tell us a little bit about this place.
Well, hub culture and the pavilions are a kind of merger between online and offline realities. So, online, we have hub culture, which is a 30,000 member social network that's been around since 2002. And that community does a number of things to collaborate online. But we also create these offline places that we call pavilions all around the world at certain moments in time. So it might be against a big event like COP21, where we're bringing in a lot of people to focus on environmental issues, or it could be another moment in time. It could be the summertime in Ibiza. It could be a ski chalet in the Alps. It could be something around the World Economic Forum in Davos when we do a hub there every year. So these places kind of erupt, and they use the engine that exists online to power themselves through whatever it is we're doing. We've done 26 on all 5 continents over the years.
So a good chance to see the world and make a difference at the same time.
But we try. I mean, it's a big world out there, and there's a lot of people trying to do good things. And we try to create these facilities in places where these things are happening, so that there are more resources available for people to be able to collaborate and to build. So, it's an exciting place to be. Not so much because of the locations, which are always exciting, but I feel like we never leave the hub when we're inside. We just spend all of our time here. But what makes them exciting is the people who come in. They're always filled with incredibly exciting and interesting people. So we're just constantly getting jazzed by all this really, really great energy.
Well, and you really contributed to Pathway to Paris today with our event in your beautiful downstairs and fantastic food. So
We're happy to host.
thank you for all of us.
Thank you.
So what is your hope for what you do here with the COP, and what do you hope comes out of these 2 weeks in Paris?
Well, I think there's kind of 2 levels. Like, we're pretty small, and COP is very big, so you can't expect to turn something around single-handedly. I often think about soup. I like to think of us as soup makers. We make really good soup. The pavilion is the pot, and then everything that we put into it, it really makes this incredible soup. And you kind of see it over the end. We do a lot of social media here, much like the way you guys do interviews with thought leaders. And that content comes out and leaves a kind of lasting footprint. But also the work that's actually done here, it results in standard and like new standards and like new deals for the people who are doing here. So, we've had millions of dollars of deals generated out of hubs around the world. Way back in Copenhagen and the very famous COP15, we were the place where RED was signed. The governors came together and they signed RED legislation at the hub in Copenhagen, and that resulted in a sustainable plan for carbon credits around forestry, which is today like an amazing thing 6 years later. So I'm really curious to think about what the world will be looking at in 2020 and what we can point back to from Paris. But I think 2 of the big themes we've seen this year are divestment. A lot of talk about how and why and under what circumstances you can drive divestment. The numbers have totally changed. So we had a panel today talking about how to move $3.4 trillion of investable capital into things that are considered green or renewable. And that's a totally different conversation than what was happening 5 years ago. For our own part, we manage VEN, which is a digital currency, and VEN is an asset-backed currency that is partially backed by carbon. So it's really the world's first green currency, and we're very rapidly scaling that currency and finding new ways for it to work. It's exponentially bigger than it was in 2009, and I think another 6 years from now it'll be exponentially bigger than it is now. And those are the things that we're doing. I think the specific thing for us, our contribution towards, a greener world is really towards VEN and creating these places for the people who are working on these solutions to come together. But in the larger sense, we're just, I think, part of a whole sea change in the way that people think, looking at sustainability, looking at efficiency, looking at how to minimize carbon, but also kind of revolutionary changes. We're working with X Prize here, with Climate Kick, and with People and Planet Project. They're our partners who help make the pavilion. And all of these guys are looking at these kind of exponential shifts, things that are not what you can expect today, that will make it 1,000 times easier to get to whatever the goal is. So instead of pumping more carbon into the air, how do we find technologies that will pull carbon out of the air? How do we figure out a way to protect and save the oceans? And not only like ocean acidification, which is set to potentially have a devastating impact, but also just the sea life and the fact that we're overfishing and over-consuming those resources. I personally think it's going to take a revolution to make it happen. And I don't mean like a social revolution or a political revolution. I think it's going to take a technological revolution. There's no way that we can get to sustainability without major technological advances.
And it sounds like some of the ideas that will be birthed here and talked about amongst the people that come to Hub Culture will be the starting point or the continuation point of moving those transformational ideas forward into our next COP next year or maybe 5 years from now.
And a lot of the big ideas are the smallest companies, right? So we're not talking about a lot of people who have the resources to be able to do things in a big way. So we combine those resources. X Prize is a $20 million prize for carbon that they've just announced. People and Planet Project is a platform that's been created to work on the 17 UN Sustainable Development Goals, right? And then Climate Kick is a large fund that's funding startups here in Europe to actually go out and tackle these issues. So we're really thrilled to have those partners here making this a reality. But the thing that actually makes that work, the oil in the engine, is the people coming in here and doing their work. And that's, for me, it's super thrilling. The other thing I'd love to mention just real quick is we do a lot of work with startups, and we're in Paris, so we thought we need to find these young startups and give them a platform here who aren't necessarily in the environmental space. And so we found 5 fashion startups, a perfumer and a jeweler, so 7 startups, and then 3 artists. So in the space, we've curated these beautiful fashion items, accessories, perfumes, and art. And it gives the whole place this kind of neat, elegant feel. But these aren't big companies. These aren't like large, it's not Hermes, right?
Yes.
When you think of Parisian fashion, you think of these big companies. These are all like young kids who are like, I'm going to go start a fashion line. I'm going to go do this, do that. And they're looking, and they're talking about how they can bring sustainability into the development of their lines and their brands, because they're millennials. It's really important for them. And for me, that's super exciting. We're saying, hey, here's a platform to be able to get the next rung up that ladder. And it's really satisfying to help stir that into the soup.
That's great. Yeah, build a better soup.
Yeah.
So can you give us a website and let our viewers know how they can connect more with Hub Culture?
Right. So membership for the community is free at hubculture.com. And, we really encourage people to look at Venn, which is venn.vc. We really do 3 things. It's the pavilions, Venn, and we're really very focused on digital identity for the world. Kind of thinking of Hub Culture as like the world's first virtual country in a way. But the identity thing is a whole other conversation. But we'll be in Frankfurt issuing our first Hub IDs to refugees next week.
Wow.
So,
Oh, great. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Signing off, Citizen Voice from Hub Culture.